Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way. I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Oh, this is definitely a head scratcher. So here's a question for everyone. Who likes puzzles? Yeah, I know it's not for everyone, but maybe it's because I grew up with them that I always found puzzles to be fun. There's just something so exhilarating about finding hints and figuring out what the answer is all on your own. It's like solving a puzzle in Deltarune on your first try without looking it up. Hey look, Mom, I did it! And in this video, the manga uncovering is all about deciphering messages and uncovering a major conspiracy during a military war setting. And its name is Cipher Academy. The story was written by Nisod Insin, or commonly known as Nisod Insin, hopefully I got that right, whose works include the Monogatari series, which I didn't know he was the author of until I started researching for this video. Additionally, the art was illustrated by Yuji Awazaki, and while Nisod Insin is usually associated with Kondasha magazine, I guess he decided to take a risk to contribute a story to Shonen Jump to see what will happen. So, Cipher Academy was released in the weekly Shonen Jump magazine from November 21st, 2022 to February 5th, 2024, publishing 7 volumes or 59 chapters in order. The first chapter gives a brief history of how, during World War II, the US selected talented individuals to form a cryptanalysis unit to analyze classic communications called the National Security Agency, which is a real-life agency in case you didn't know. However, unlike the real NSA, the manga's version targeted women, and in the current age, a new school was formed based on the NSA's origins to deal with the next Great War, aptly named Cipher Academy. This is where we get introduced to the main character, Araha Arahazaka, your typical average student who is struggling to keep up with their peers when it comes to solving ciphers. They can't even figure out how to finish their own crossword puzzle assignment from the first day. So one day after class, while trying to finish the crossword, a girl ran into the room that they were in, urgently asking them to help her hide. She was running from this girl posse here, with the leader of this group named Kiora Toshisa asking Araha a very interesting question. Why is there a boy here at this all-girls military academy? Yep, that's right. Despite looking feminine, Araha is in fact a dude. It's a trap! And it's quickly explained that the academy starts to implement male students into their classrooms, hence Araha's inclusion. So after Kiora and her group left, the girl that Araha had introduced herself as Kogoe Haragatoge, who is in a whole different class compared to Araha and Kiora. As thanks for helping her hide from Kiora, she gives Araha some trendy glasses before leaving. And those glasses aren't what they seemed, as they give Araha a major hint on how to solve his crossword puzzle, essentially becoming a cheat sheet. But at least he finished his assignment. However, Kiora is suspicious that someone who was supposedly struggling with their assignment suddenly completed it, and figure Araha got help from Kogoe. So under the guise of friendship, Kiora gives Araha a puzzle to prove himself, unless he's willing to become her manservant for the next 3 years. And just like last time, Araha puts on the glasses to help him figure out and solve the puzzle. That's when Kogoe decides to open her big fat mouth and speak through the glasses, telling Kiora, since Araha solved your puzzle, wouldn't you technically be Araha's servant? Like, she couldn't wait until Kiora and her gang leave before imparting this information to Araha. You just outed yourself and him! But Kogoe is right, Kiora set the conditions, and since Araha technically didn't set any himself, the same punishment applies to Kiora when Araha won. At least Kiora takes her punishment with pride and gracefully leaves, although the same cannot be said for her lackeys, groupies, let's just call them her friends/teammates. Kogoe then comments about how astonished she is about how Araha is utilizing the glasses, which are revealed to be a war weapon, and she thinks about how Araha could be useful for her goal, which involves unearthing something that exists deep below the school. And that's chapter 1. Alright, not a bad start. Although what Kogoe wants beneath the school is definitely outlandish, as you'll hear in a moment. But before I continue further, if you like the video so far and want to see more of me, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on my next video. And there will be minor spoilers for the manga ahead. So with that out of the way, let's move on with... Wow, I'm learning a lot today. Okay, it turns out this isn't the first time that the artist Awazaki has collaborated with Niso Inshin, as they both worked on several one-shots together in the past, with the art having heart-shaped faces, sharp angular character designs, and bright, vibrant volume colors with line art that gives off this bold look to it. So it's safe to say that Iwasaki knows what they're doing, complimenting Niso Inshi's witty, tongue-in-cheek dialogue. Another thing to point out is to make Niso Inshi's dialogue-heavy story interesting to look at, Iwasaki draws excellent dynamic poses and angles throughout the manga that will fit well in a battle action story. So it's no wonder that about a year later after Cipher Academy's run, Iwasaki is teaming up with Gege to work on a new project, which I'm excited for, and it'll definitely be interesting to read once it comes out. For starters, there's Araha. Even though I said he's your typical everyday guy, he's shown to be level-headed, outgoing, fair, with a surprising level of observational skills, with the last trait contributing to his backstory as a victim of war. I was surprised by how Araha's story went, considering my initial thoughts of his arc throughout the manga were that he was going to rely too much on the smart glasses instead of his own strengths. And it did look that way in chapter 3 when Kyora's friends challenged Araha to a code battle, and conveniently the battery to the smart glasses died, leading Araha to rely on his smarts to figure out the answer. However, when trying to solve the puzzle, Araha found that solving puzzles on his own was actually fun, and gave him a sense of thrill that I relate to. Yeah, he did go over the time limit and only got a tie due to a technicality, but this experience led to him starting to become interested in solving puzzles himself, rather than using the smart glasses. Next, we have Kagoe. Compared to Araha and the rest of the supporting cast, she only appears in a few brief scenes. But even with the short screen time, except towards the end, she comes across as a lying and manipulative person willing to do anything and break any relationship to reach her goal. Even though her goal is to end all wars with no violence using the secret that lies below the academy, but that's something I will talk about later in the video. As for the rest of the supporting cast, there are way too many characters to talk about, that if I were to, this video will be longer than it should, so I'm just gonna quickly go over my favorites. At first glance, Kira does come across as serious and intimidating, but that's due in part to her being the heiress of a weapon manufacturer company. Underneath the exterior, she's shown to be a very loyal person to those she considers her friends, and is known to think objectively, even if she might be perceived negatively. In fact, the odd way she randomly includes ass or butts is because she lost a code battle to one of her childhood friends and keeps up with the charade out of endearment for her. Both of Kyora's friends, Taiyo Yukata and Yukaka Omamura, who appeared in the first chapter, have interesting backstories that explain their relationship and loyalty to Kyora, with Taiyo being very intriguing to me as she was the first person to give Araha a real challenge in puzzle solving, and comes across as someone you don't want to get on their bad side. Lastly, I want to mention Anana to Mi-san. Yes, it is funny that there's a character in this manga whose name is anonymous, with her face being physically redacted. She started off as indifferent and self-centered, not caring she had to resort to cheating to win, but after Araha defeated her in Leafy Poker, she showed more of her bratty and mischievous side, even after her face was shown. Overall, just another entertaining character to read her interactions with other characters. Now it's time to talk about the ciphers in Cipher Academy, to see if any of them are good. The puzzles in Cipher Academy are a definite hit or miss. There are 126 puzzles in all, with each having a rating up to 5 stars, with 1 being easy enough that a child could solve it, to 5 being the plot needs to explain how this works because good luck trying to figure this out on your own. There are actually some you can follow along and solve yourself. For example, puzzle number 6 requires selecting the right key. It may look like all keys are identical, but if you look closely, you'll notice that one of them has different indents compared to the rest of them. Another example is puzzle number 84, where you have to play Spot the Difference as an enemy player disguises themselves as one of Araha's classmates. Again, nothing appears out of the ordinary. However, there's a blinking omitted detail regarding Iroha, as his hair tie and charms are on his right compared to his left. Inconsequential at first, but once the real Iroha shows up with his accessories on the correct side, it becomes obvious who's the real traitor. There's even one towards the very end of the manga that'll be a fun game to play called Roundtable Calculator Flash Mental Math. Geez, say that 5 times fast. Where players are to come up with a natural number consisting of 3 digits or less, and the last person has to say the correct sum of the numbers. Failure to do so will kick them out of the game, with each round getting progressively harder as players can't repeat any numbers that were said. Still, even with the decent puzzles here and there, one of the biggest criticisms / problems with the manga is that the majority of the puzzles rely heavily on Japanese wordplay and kanji. It'll be fine for its Japanese audience, but since I'm a Disney American, there was some level of disconnect. Personally, I didn't mind it because I'm trying to learn kanji when I eventually make my trip to Japan in the future, but I know that for a casual reader who isn't into this will be left overwhelmed or confused or both. It was so bad that one of the original English translators quit after translating chapter 13, saying that it was, quote, impossible to translate. As for the overarching story itself, you want to know what lies beneath the school that Kagome is so eager to obtain? Simple, cryptocurrency. Wait, hear me out. Since this is a fictional world that relies on technology and digital space, perhaps cryptocurrency holds more significance here. I don't know what Kagome plans to do with the 50 million more, other than probably buying out all of the major war manufacturing companies. I mean, that's one way of ending war without violence, but I feel that's not what Kagome plans to do with that money. As for the pacing, it's definitely on the slower side, with the story being carried by the characters, as each of them has a reason for why they are at the academy and what they plan on using the crypt money for, even if some of them are not given enough screen time compared to others. After a series of events that led Iroha to discover his love for solving puzzles and seeing that Kagome's goal aligned with his ideals, Iroha goes along with Kagome's plan on how to mine for the 50 million more. He goes through puzzle after puzzle using his observant and compassionate nature to gain allies and move up through the ranks, going from class-leading private to grade right leader and finally Code Emperor. Things only start to ramp up 3/4 of the way through when the competition to reach the 50 million more begins. All of the smartest students, including Iroha, in their grade, enter a roguelike coding dungeon game and race towards the deepest part of the school where the cryptocurrency lies. In the end, obviously, Iroha won, and then Kagome shows up to reveal her true motives for the 50 million more, which has such major Senator Armstrong energy to it that I wouldn't be surprised if Kagome suddenly starts saying, "Making the mother of all omelets here, Iroha." Whether it was intentional or not, it still made me unexpectedly laugh. But Iroha does manage to convince Kagome that there could be another way to obtain peace, with everything seemingly wrapped up in the end. Huh. Okay then. That was a little disappointing. I wonder what happened. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, if you picked up on how I quickly went over the story, or how I said things only start to ramp up 3/4 of the way through, then you figured out by now that Cipher Academy got cancelled. There's an easy explanation as to why, and it's something that I noticed recently about Shonen Jump that I might make a future video on the subject. Beyond the obvious low sales, a story about deciphering puzzles with heavy dialogue is not going to appeal to the age demographic that Shonen Jump usually goes for. Ironically enough, Niso Insi would probably have a better chance with Cipher Academy if it was published by Kodansha. Maybe. I don't know about the specifics. Even with its niche audience, its heavy reliance on Japanese wordplay alienated some readers, and if you think you're going into this story to read about themes and nuances of war, prepare yourself to be heavily disappointed. I should be more upset by this, especially at the end of the manga where, spoiler alert, that crypto money didn't amount to anything as the war is still ongoing, but I'm not. I feel more pity than anything that this manga didn't fully tell its story like it wanted to. And unlike the last manga I covered on this channel, at least I can say I enjoyed myself. Ultimately, Cipher Academy is a manga that definitely fits into the niche category. A manga that will appeal to those who enjoy puzzles, Japanese wordplay, and don't mind when things get convoluted. So if you don't mind any of these things, then I recommend checking out Cipher Academy to see if you like it. If there's anyone out there who has read the manga, let me know how you feel about Cipher Academy in the comments below. Until next time, thanks for watching everyone. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell for more of my manga related content. I hope you have a decent day and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Take a deep breath, deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. Let it go, let it out, let it go, let it out.